And we're back online. I hope you guys are excited as we are. We are in the final presentation of the day, which has a lot of moving pieces. It has a lot of different countries, and it has trains. Who doesn't like trains? Uh, so this presentation is called "The Rail Path Towards Data Centricity," and Marina Aguado is going to be taking us through her presentation. Marina, your PowerPoint is visible, so you're free to take it from here.
Thank you, Joaquin. Yes, I work currently in the European Union Agency for Railways. I will explain the organization and the role and why we have this route towards data centricity. And currently, I'm as part of this data centricity. I'm officially called what they say interoperable data coordinator. That is linked to the role of one of the Interoperable Europe Act. That is one of the new legislation package that come into play in the European data strategy. So next slide. Yeah. First, before explaining the organization, I need to start by explaining how does it work, the European railway ecosystem and the European law. Normally, when we the European Union is built based on a set of treaties, and these treaties are called normally primary law. Why I'm telling all this is because it's important to understand how the law will play an important role in this data transformation. So all those laws or major messages that come from the European Treaty are passed in the secondary law that is called directives, regulation. And one of the important topics that is covered by those treaties and primary legislation is what they call the single market transport and trans-European network. So the European Union has the competency to bring together all the different railway lines that they were national and that now have become or have the goal to be part of the single European area. So through the policy actions that at the end are pieces of law, the goal is to pass from fully integrated state railways that are based on monopoly, that they are quite conservative, they don't have a business or a cost-efficient operation, to a unified railway European network with the same parameters of interoperability, of quality, of safety. And in order to achieve that, there is a set of rules that are below what we call the 4 railway package. The latest one was in 2016, but there has been, since the building of the European Union, a huge amount of different packages with the goal to constitute a unique European railway area. And the European Union agency, the one that I'm working for, is the responsible for those safety and interoperability not only indicators, but in order to smooth the path to achieve the same indicators in safety and interoperability. So the concept of interoperability has been very linked to the railways from everywhere, from always. I wonder also, because interoperability is fully linked with mobility. You cannot consider when we have a passport or when we have a vehicle, well, at the end it's because we are going to move, we are going to cross over borders. So at the end, we will need to make ourselves understood and also our information systems, because they were by design interoperable, or they should be built interoperable by design, and they are built by design interoperable, but normally at mechanical, physical, electrical, energy level. Not always we have been so aware as today that we also need information systems fully interoperable and the data itself interoperable. And one thing that I mentioned in the panel is that when building this network, European network altogether, what we have identified is that 70% of the total amount of engineering hours of one of the most expensive systems in deploying, that is the signaling system, is dedicated to the data transformation of the railway infrastructure. So I would like also to mention that the rail is a very complex data landscape, because there are plenty of information systems that are critical safety. It's not the same that you phone someone and, oh, the line is busy or it doesn't work, and okay, I will phone later. No, now if the communication fails, you may not stop the train on time. So, and maybe casualties. So all this means reliability, and there are availability indicators super strict in the railway domain, and real time, of course, because one thing that is difficult to understand is that when you have an obstacle in the railway domain, your vehicle, you don't have time to stop the vehicle even if you see it. So everything has to be very well planned in advance, and that's why the challenge of all these systems and the criticality. The agency has, from the specific data point of view, we host some information that is pipeline from the different railway actors, like the infrastructure manager or the operators, like information from vehicles, information from how the railway lines are, because the goal is, as in the telecom domain, to open the market. So an operator from France can operate in Italy, or someone from Germany can operate in Spain, in order to, well, as I mentioned, facilitate and open the market, make it more competitive. The way to do it is to eliminate the national rules, the specificity of each country. So we are we build standards that need to be followed by all the different parties. And there are also changes between the operator and infrastructure managers that are specified in those legal instruments that I mentioned before. And apart from that, we have the in-house data exchange. Well, this was a picture outdated today, thanks God, about all the different data exchange between the registers. Just 1 second. Sorry. Between the different registers in the railway sector. So as you can imagine, super complex flow with different actors making it acceptance criteria of the different exchanges. And sorry. And this is the journey towards data centricity that we initiated in 2019. As I mentioned before, we had the the lack of exchanging with some very inspiring consultants, trainers on link data and link open data. We also read the David books on data centricity, and we understood that the way to merge our data was through the use of link open data or link data concepts and standards. And in fact, our databases and the information systems are stamped in the legal documents. So it's super difficult to modify the data model, the reference, everything. So we managed to convince our management board that any future development should be used those principles, that we were gonna get more flexibility and more sustainability. Because one thing that we also have is that all this, every time that we try or we aim to review some part of the legislation, it has to be voted by expert groups belonging to 27 countries. So in fact, it's super difficult. But at the end, it also gains on consensus. It's like any standardization. And every register, as I mentioned in the slides, is they didn't have the same glossaries or the definitions or the same control vocabulary. And it was very difficult to maintain because some of the rules or the process that are described in the legislation for compatibility, technical compatibility, are embedded in the code. So it's very difficult later to maintain and to gain trust on the process is mapped exactly how the legal instrument says in the code. So we started with aiming to become a data-centric organization because we have understood that in order to automate some of our processes, like the conformity, the root conformity check, or compatibility check, or all the issuing of certificates, we needed to have everything machine readable and to facilitate the automation, right? So, in fact, this picture shows some of the communications we did in 2023, and it says link data and the ERA railways fact sheet, blah, blah, blah. So at the end, we managed to put the ontology and this semantic approach and semantic interoperability in our decisions and in all the actors that collaborate with us. So we include the ERA ontology in the legal in the revision of the regulation that specify how any infrastructure manager in Europe needs to provide the detailed information of the railway infrastructure updated as soon as a change happens in order to facilitate that other operator can run over that network. So we are lucky because we are following a trend in the European data policy when building what they call the European mobility data space. They refer to use also semantic interoperability and reuse the instruments that we have already put in place. So we consider that the work done will be a building block, or is a building block of this European mobility data space. And we follow this enterprise knowledge graph foundation architecture, saying first focus on the vision and principles, propose, start small, go bigger afterwards. So we propose a use case tree with the main topics that they were planned according to a roadmap, and we build a pipeline of this transformation. We have also a catalog of very control our data assets. And what I mentioned before in the panel, we dedicate a lot of time on data culture, not only internally, also mostly external. And last but not least, we put in place data governance also. So today our knowledge graph has this size, is about 100 million triples, 31K lines of mappings, 500 shackle shapes, property shapes, and sparkle constraints. We have also 207K track segments defined, 50K stations described, and plenty of geo-reference elements. Sorry. We also have vehicles and 27 country covers. So this is an example I want to show you is about the SCOS. What we find here in the RINF, ERA-TV RINF is the infrastructure register for infrastructure. ERA-TV is the register for vehicles. This is a picture, but I wonder if Joaquin has put the links in there, or I will put them later. All those, when you click in those links, you will see the values that not always the taxonomy were aligned. So we are in the process of aligning the different taxonomies that came from the different registers. Currently, we have, in order to facilitate the communication with our stakeholders, we maintain a GitHub fully open where everyone can add comments, issues, and we review those and contribute or pack them in a new revision of the ontology. And this currently the ontology was only covering vehicles and railway infrastructures, but now we are also covering ISS that is linked to safety occurrences, because in order to learn from safety occurrences, there is several laws where every, like in the food domain, every problem, every accident needs to be sent, or even in cybersecurity, to a unique place where everyone investigate and then learn from the accident or communicate quickly to other actors that could be involved. So we are also extending this ontology to all those safety-related events. And also we have a branch here on automation of one of the authorization process we have. This is the first, we started with one of the use cases was, okay, we managed to upload and semantically uplift two different registers, vehicle plus railway infrastructure. Now we can provide a service that is check if your vehicle with all your technical characteristics is compatible with the routes you want, right? So by uploading to the KG, we are able to run this type of process. This is the transformation pipeline we had at the beginning with uploading from the legacy that it was XML. We had an XSD validation, the generation of the KG, shackle validation and publication. And we have also the possibility to upload only a small part of the graph and also merged partially and uploaded. And this is, I will forward you the links as soon as we stop a bit. But you can zoom in, zoom out, and observe all the railway lines. Check every point is, you go directly to the KG, you see if the station, which ones are all the parameters of the operational point or the section of line. So there is a lot of information on the graph. And this is the service we provide, but is to say, I want to go from A to B, I will use this type of vehicle, and then automatically provide you which is the route plus the compatibility of that route in that segment. Per segment, it gives you all the information you need to know if you can start asking for a path request or not to the railway operator. And what we are observing nowadays is that the European Union data policy is promoting the transformation of the European law in a consumable, digital consumable law. And there are some ontology linked that is structuring all the legislative, creating URI, but not yet to the nouns, but staying only at article level with all the indicators. But the goal now is that we manage to make this law as much as possible machine readable. For example, that route compatibility check that we have shown, in fact, it comes from the specification, or very clear in an annex D3 of one of the RINF regulation, on how it has to be compared, which parameters, by whom, and with which values, to say if this is or not compatible with the truck. So at the end, we are in a business that is very engineering, very technical, is not so behavioral, but more technical parameters that can be more or less quite absolute in an objective manner compared. So we can run all those validations and checks in order to automate some of the process. And then I would like also to say that we are working on one side, not only at semantic level, but also helping to harmonize the process, the exchange, the legal, and the organization interoperability. As I mentioned here, at the end, linked data is not a technology, it's a mindset, and it's an enabler to achieve better knowledge management and better business continuity in our case also. So we have in place many expert groups, we call them working party, that helps to define and harmonize the terms, the reference data, the code lists. That's what we call the reference data. And we have in place also, and with this help, we managed to align the scores, to create the shackle, and this is like, and everything, all the semantics artifacts converge in a legal instrument that we put in the legislation. So at the end, I think that is the first legal text enacting an ontology, at least in the European railway sector. And we are happy to say that we were Alone in the desert in 2019, or at least it was difficult to find railway ontologies. And now there are railway ontology for RayML. It was launched in January 21st. For Ulinks, also for rail system model that is also linked. All of this is linked are ontologies for railway tracks. So, well, with more information, and they also reuse our ontology and kind of try to harmonize. So at the end, at least they are models that are much more invisible than before. I would like also to mention that this has not been an easy track because of the nature of the railway domain. We have to handle business cases that deal with geo information and to structure an ontology, knowing that you will have to zoom in, zoom out, and to know that that element belongs to that layer and to other layer. Well, this is not an easy task to generate geo information. We are reusing GeoSparkle, but what I mean is layers with different granularity and applications using them is quite challenging. And this is a representation from one of our colleagues also. And another challenge we experience, and it's not yet solved, is that we need to be able to return back on time from time to time. For example, when an accident happened, we need to know if at that time how it was the railway network. Is the change of the route, frequently change in routes, a potential cause of accident? So all this, it demands a huge amount of data. We are exploring the linked data event stream technology. We have also a pilot last year. And this is one of other challenges we are handling. What's next is that we are not any longer capturing the data from our stakeholders, but we would like also to start kind of, and some of them are already building KGs that will connect automatically to provide a federated real-time queries. So the idea is to become distributed, but when everyone is also building the same information in their own premises. And we have also in the next year, a very demanding use case that is to help building a route book. What is a route book? Is because the route book currently is different for every railway operator, and the idea is that a driver starts their run in Spain, end up in France or wherever, and they don't need to change the way the information is presented to them. So we are working on this automatic digital route book and rule book, and those ones are one of the next challenge for next year. Opportunities, as we mentioned before, also in the panel, we are exploring large language model for enrich with our ontology to answer Sparkle queries. And we are also exploiting it to help us to build some of the building blocks of the ontology. So try to use them for coding purposes, yes. And the guilty ones of all this, I would say that these ones are the actors, the companies that play or helping us, and we also change our own organigram. We build an operational data unit that they were not existing before in the agency. And I would say that also a very important actor is that we are following the interoperable Europe goal, or all the CEMIC initiative that is trying to promote the semantics, the linked data, to facilitate interoperability in the European Union. And well, some commercials, some stuff. Last year we have a railway data forum in Verona. We think it's super important to build community in order to support each other. And yeah, and this year we will repeat the experience. It was a great experience last year, and this time is in Club Napoc in Romania. So with this, I conclude the presentation. I'm happy to answer any question. I will try to work on this. Yep.
Excellent. Do you have a last slide for contact information?
Hello?
Marina? Marina?
Yep.
Do you have a last slide for contact information or no?
Contact information, I put it here. Sorry.
Well, I removed your slides so you could take off the PowerPoint, and if you'd like, we can share that later. But feel free to connect with Marina Aguado. She's on LinkedIn. We've tagged her, but her profile doesn't let us tag her. I think if you click on her profile in the platform, you're going to be able to connect with her directly. So we have...
I cannot copy. Did you put it? No.
I'll put it.
Thank you. And I would like also to put all these things I was sharing with you, because otherwise it's not funny to. You can put all these links if you don't mind.
Of course. So you can feel free to send her an email if you want to talk more, grow the community. And then here are some additional resources that she shared throughout her presentation. I put it in the comments so you can retrieve it as you'd like. We have two back-to-back questions from Peter Campbell and Peter Winstanley. Go figure. We'll start with Peter Campbell. And he says, do you use some of the shackle tools of the European Commission, interoperability testbed, shackle validators, etc.?
We create the shackle rules for our data validation process. We are not using the shackle tools from the European Commission, no. But we have to. No, we are. We had a performance challenge, and we are using a shackle engine from Finland, for a Norwegian developer, Magnus. And yeah, if you drop me an email, I can share it with you, the contact information, Maplib or something. Very good one.
Peter Winstanley is saying, Marina, great presentation. In addition to Shackle, are there any ways in which you use rules?
We for the RCC, you mean, or we have the rules of the RCC coded in Sparkle and then in Shackle also. So both of them. You can find the shapes in the links if you want to have a look at them.
And When you refer to MapLib, are you referring to Data Treehouse, Magnus Bakken, and Oris? Yeah, okay.
That one
Okay.
is amazing. It was super well performed.
Yeah, these two guys, they're brilliant, and they have a lot of open source graph tools. So Data
Yeah,
Treehouse,
yeah,
shout out to them.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Marina, I really like the link data as a mindset. It shows and projects the amount of effort that goes into developing these sorts of initiatives. And I appreciate you bringing in the whole journey that you started in 2019 and look at where we are now. I mean, it's still not finished, but
No. There is a huge amount of work in front, by the way. Yeah.
as you mentioned in the panel discussion, a lot of countries or groups are focused in their national strategy, but you being involved with the international coordination of standards and efforts, the development of these ontologies, I'm sure helped out quite a bit in creating a binder between these different national strategies, right?
Yeah. Well, we are in a domain, believe it or not, that there are the infrastructure managers. They don't like to share data. I suppose that is as many other business, but it's so I would say is so amazing that imagine you are in onboard a train, 200 people with their mobile phones. There are today applications where that they can trace that you are on board a train and the train is delayed, but the infrastructure manager doesn't want to share that the train was delayed. So it's like so, or the same as with the vehicle number. The vehicle number is pointed in the vehicle, in the wagon. Well, this information is private. So we are still there. So there is a lot of challenge on convincing people that we need to share data, and and sometimes, yeah, and that's why. Well, I know that Europe is well known for over-regulating everything. Railways are, of course, over-regulated, and we say, okay, let's gonna take the most out of the lemon and make a lemonade, right? Let's gonna make the regulation as digital, accessible, open as possible, and be the ones in front of the sharing the vocabulary, sharing the taxonomy. Everything we do is publicly available, all the software, all the rules, in order to change, right? To force the change in the sector, and I think that we are getting there, or at least.
Steve, did you have any questions?
Well, Marina, I was just wanting to maybe dive into a bit of what you see, or even if you do see any statistics associated with the safety that has come about as a result of this interlinking of all these railways, maybe even how certain defects have been repaired faster, or what are some of the underlying ramifications that you have seen at a business level that has really kind of been an eye opener for people to say, yes, this does work. It's doing what we want it to do. Anything along those lines that you have access to or visibility?
Well, we have experience. Well, the safety ontology is ready, but not yet the provision of data, right? We are in the phase of transforming the data to that, but we have already built the ontology thinking that this information on location will be linked, of course, to the infrastructure we have. So at the end of the day, the competency questions that guided us in building the ontology, we are already thinking or considering that we are going to be able to know all the accidents happening in which type of equipment or in which type of switch, or so at the end, by merging, you will be even able to validate that someone, when entering a report, it makes sense or it not, because they are using that equipment and this equipment is not feasible to be here. So it will enrich quality, consistency to the provision. It will be more helpful because plenty of data they will not be able to type or to introduce. So I think that for everyone is clear that we are gonna improve. Of course, there are concerns that perhaps you monitor too much, because I don't want you to monitor, but yeah. But this is a different, yeah.
Has there been, and maybe just going up to more of the service levels and customer satisfaction and some of those KPIs, have you seen that there's a much more happier traveler as a result of this, or maybe again you don't have privy to some of those statistics as far as just having those apps that are able to really give you much more detailed information and more compatibility with what their travel needs are. Anything along those lines?
We have been in contact with companies that use our data they connect to the KG, they extract, they use the information, and they are surprised to have all this data available for, yeah. So this, in this sense, is good. I don't think yet that we have reached the passenger. I'm afraid not yet, but the companies, yes. And so there are many companies thinking, doing themselves the route compatibility check on a different service with the same or enriched data.
Yep.
So in that sense, yes.
Good.
And you mentioned that part of this adoption, upstream adoption, was enabling the collection of taxes, right?
No, what I mean is that it's like taxes. What I mean is that the different IMs have there is a regulation that oblige to the different infrastructure managers responsible for the infrastructure in their business, in their country, to share the data, a huge amount of data. As soon as something changes, automatically sending to our register. And this is like to pay a tax. It's like, okay, I'm obliged to do it. It's like,
Oh, okay.
They have that obligation. Sometimes they didn't understood why or what for. And now when they have the possibility to check other networks, they understand better. But initially it's like, well, it's like paid taxes. Oh, what's the point,
Enforcing this
and they were not using the data, and they gradually, since the operator is using the data they provide to us, is like improving the full cycle. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Excellent. Well, Steve, any last question?
Very, very well done. I think this is an incredible example of how this thing can work within, actually, as you said, I don't know how many countries are in the EU that are associated with this, but this is not just crossing domain barriers. This is crossing international country barriers, and it's working. Yeah. So applaud you and your team for all you've done. But this is a data-centric success story if I've ever heard of one.
Thank you. Well, it's not over.
It's never over.
But I really like to see how people, when start I've seen last year many actors changing their minds, and people that has been for ages working with JSON, now JSON-LD, now they benefit of ontology. Yeah, gradually it's helping a lot.
Yeah, that's got to be very rewarding to see some of those changes reach the adoption phase, and as more and more be able to take it on.
Yeah,
they're just going to tell their neighbor that this is the way to go.
I've seen some. I would like to share also some from Bob Jansen, some links. This guy was able, because he's a very expert signaling engineer, and he was able to build an adapter to enterprise architecture software and to the Visio. So you have a draw of the railway switch and all the network, and you map each element in the palette to an element in the ontology. So automatically from a drawing in Visio, you pass to RDF. So this type of wow, because plenty of the maps we have are in Visio, AutoCAD, or yeah. So, and also converters from enterprise architecture UML to all. So yeah, plenty of actors that were very good engineers, good IT people, and yeah.
Good. All right. Well, should we wrap it up, Joaquin?
Yeah. So we're gonna just take about 2 minutes to catch your breath. Even if we start in about 1 minute, Steve and I are gonna close out the session, and they will also be able to tag along with us just to give us a few thoughts. So Marina, again, thank you very much for the presentation, and yeah, we'll be right back.
Bye-bye.